and this goes back to Bernice being at the meeting and then making a request to us. I called and talked to Kyle because I wanted to be in a position to give her some information at the meeting, and then I spoke to Ted. The problem is I did not want us to commit to any expense of engineering or legal or anything until we talked with her and let them know, approximately what it's going to cost. In the meantime, I started thinking about it and writing down a bunch of things that I felt we needed to think about to move ahead here, regardless of the engineering and the legal. My first concern is precedent. There's either 5 more little ones. If we do one, we cannot not consider the other. The other thing is it appears to be simplistic when you think about it, but should this happen and we have to be the backup source and we're really serving 17 more homes, I mean, Kyle has to tell us what that means from engineering and I don't know, I think there's 2-inch pipes back there. I don't know if it's where they're looped or anything. That, of course, has to be engineered and go before DEQ, but just on the plane, looking at it from a business and the lens of how it would affect the district is, okay, if that happens and we take on that 17 more homes, hopefully it would be a short term, but what if it's something that isn't short term? We have to have in place an agreement. How do we charge them? How do we do cross-contamination issues? I don't know if there would be liability issues. We'd have to have Caitlin, we're going to have an agreement drawn up. But yeah, it's not simplistic. There's a lot of things that we would have to consider. I'm especially concerned about us getting in a position of having to deal with 5 others.
I think I've dealt with it before, and Bob, you probably have as well. Do you want to give her some feedback on how?
Unadvertised?
Advertised, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It has to be approved by DEQ. And then it's a question of whether we're just an intertie to supply them water when they're down, or we're going to supply them water on a year-round basis.
It's just emergency at this point. It's just emergency.
At the intertie, we'll valve it off. There has to be a flow meter there so we can see how, if we open our system up to serve their system, we have to know how much water goes through it so you can build it. And depending on the type of treatment that they have in their system, we may have to provide a backflow prevention assembly right there at the point of connection onto their line.
Yeah, I think in this case, I don't think they do any treatment with chlorine or anything to their water, silver water, do they?
No, but the only time is when it gets shut down.
Yeah. So one of the things that you could also do, besides having valve and having a flow meter, is that I have one where when the system pressure drops to a certain point, then the valve opens. And of course, there's check valves in there, so it can't flow backwards. But that way, it's automatic. If there's a power outage or the pump goes down, they don't lose pressure and have to put out notices. It's just automatic comes in. Let's say they're running at 60 pounds. Well, maybe we would have it come on at 50 or 55 pounds. The valve would open up and allow them to have water. Then, of course, the meter is tracking all that's being done there, and we can, they can be billed accordingly when it's being metered. So those are just some ideas.
Yeah,
so I gave this a little bit of thought, and I like the thought of us being able to provide assistance for others if they have problems. But man, there's another shoe to drop that I think of all these problems that come up that it scares me as I don't want to be the Debbie Downer because I want us to be able to provide as needed help.
the good neighbor. Yeah, the good neighbor too.
I think of when this was created, and I don't want to spend much time here, but I'm sure it went out to others, and it was, hey, we're going to do this. Do you want to come in and be a part of? And I'm not knowing what people said. I can't put my thoughts and other people's minds, but obviously they didn't become part of this baby water sewer system. And thus it was, if you decide you need to come in later, it's gonna be more expensive than if we do it now and bring you and all be part of baby water sewer. Well, now, the unforeseen action of the system going down and us being able to fulfill the requirements they have, there's the costs involved. And I don't think anybody's saying anything about that if it's their question, somebody else's request, it would be on them to pay for the engineering and the testing and the experimentation and that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that's all given. But where's the cost benefit that for even them? I mean, we don't. It might be too much for us to even consider further. I don't know, but we need to know by engineers. We need to know how much the expenses would be and such like that, because somebody else may just go, you guys, it's too much.
And per district policy, with a customer connecting to the system, whether they're using the water or not, once the meter is in place and they're tied into our infrastructure, a monthly cost is in place. That's the benefit of being able to have our water at a moment's notice, is paying the cap fee and paying a monthly fee into the infrastructure itself. So
Yeah, right now, that's the way it would be, unless we would have to make a separate agreement with them that would set that aside if that wasn't gonna happen. So there's just all kinds of things that we're gonna have to make decisions on and spend time on.
Right.
And I guess my biggest concern is, do we really want to be that source for 5 more? Or is it 6?
Well, I think we're all hitting it where we want everybody's treated equally and fairly. And then you also have to look at the second, for the system's option. What is their option for a second source, drilling another well? Where would they get away from drain fields? If let's say the residential one is $50 a foot just to drill it. That's just resident. This isn't commercial. And DEQ is going to make them do all kinds of engineering. So this may still be a better option, even if they're paid cap fees or just like another customer coming in, or as a commercial rate with a monthly billed fee. It may still be a very viable option for them because it's less expensive than the other one.
Well, and provide for our budget.
We would have to for what we do with the rest of our customers, we would have to do that. We couldn't make exceptions. Right. And should we decide to do it and basically say, okay, we're willing to entertain these 5 more or 6 or whatever it is, but it all has to be the same. They're going to have to pay cap fees. And I would be very expensive.
We would have to include on our rate structure an emergency standby fee, because otherwise it would be treated like, let's say they have 20 connections, then it would be 20 times $32 base fee unless we put a item on our rate schedule that said emergency standby fee situation.
Could you give us, do you have any kind of feeling of what they are considering expense-wise that they could entertain to do this?
I basically said I'm sure it would be in the $5,000 range of hookup. And the comment that was made is, well, we don't have that kind of money. We'd have to assess each place, and that kind of if needed to be done. But see, there's actually 4 others in.
So there's 5 now. Yeah. Okay.
Is there 5 now?
It's McKinley, Bayview Heights.
4 others.
No, Bayview Heights. No. They're not connected with us in any way.
No, not with you. So you're talking about other systems.
Oh, no. I was thinking of
all the systems.
I was thinking of Farragut Village. No. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's the Heights and McKinley and Schaefer and Silver.
There's one other one.
There may be someone or something.
Well, Evergreen went down,
Okay.
they're gone.
I think I know there's one over where Gary McDonald is. There's a private one that's right at the end. They may have gone public by now because Panhandle Health District.
I think Gary's getting all his water from Bayview.
He is, but there's another one within his property or somewhere in that area. Some
Somebody
trailers. Somebody has
private
something.
well.
It's private, but this a couple years ago. I talked to Panhandle Health District. I said, yeah, they're at the point where they're about public now. So
Yeah.
Well, and we have this situation over here.
yes, yeah, right.
So riddle me this, is it just as the fun question is if we did incorporate all those other systems, would we be able to even supply that much?
Oh, our supply
Yeah,
is
I
unlimited. It would be engineering more of a bigger concern what it does, and depending on where they are and the pipe sizes and
Oh,
all of that.
our zones and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
it would have to
And
be.
generally, the always issue with districts is development pays, and if even though not a developer is another system, they have to pay their way, so the members don't bear that cost.
And I heard you say something about Silver was kind of talking about like a $5,000 budget. And after today, our rate structure, should the board choose to do it, and I would think serving multiple houses on one connection would at least be a 2-inch meter, which would be that commercial rate of $8,000 for simply just a connection charge.
Yeah.
Plus, I would think that any liability contracts, legal fees, anything like that, the districts would pay
Probably
for.
would be, I'd tell them it would be another $5,000 just to,
Yeah.
for what Kyle's gonna have to do, and legal documents,
contracts, yeah.
developing legal documents. So,
So that wouldn't include the actual mechanics of it.
Right.
yeah,
Plus the $2,000
Yeah, I think one thing would be
fee.
important to express to them too is that these aren't necessarily fees the district is imposing. This, the mandate by DEQ, engineering, all this stuff.
it's not
It comes through to us, and we simply pass it through. We're not making any money on any of it
Yeah.
Yeah.
per se.
We're not-
Yeah, just
Right.
ensuring that the district isn't using user fees to pay for any type
Yeah,
of
we
growth
can't.
or income.
But when they set up these other districts, at that time, they had to have a backup system. And when they started out, they had the Fiscus place on Corbin. That was they were the ones that owned the marina, anyway, and somehow they lost the Fiscus property, and then it was hooked to Evergreen, and then Evergreen went down, but supposedly in the rules, you're supposed to have a backup system.
Yes.
Do you have another, is there any other alternative for you would be less expensive?
Yes, I think so. I think we have a well on one of our properties. And if first came to worst, but, and I'm not pushing it. I'm totally neutral on it.
Yeah. I think what they need to realize is that whether it's going to you or Schaefer system, they're still going to have to go through DEQ and engineering because I believe it's considered a public system. So either way, they're going to have to follow the rules.
Even if it's not a public system, they're hooking into us.
Mhm.
Just for clarity, are we talking about absorbing this into our district?
No.
Or are we just talking about an interside for emergency?
Correct.
Just an interside.
That's a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah.
But like I say, if there is an emergency, it could very well become, maybe it's something that they're not gonna be able to financially handle.
Well,
and we have to become-
Yeah, we can't replace a pump. We'll stay with Bayview. Water and sewer.
Yeah. And right now, Schaefer is putting in a generator. They poured a pad last week and they're getting ready to put in a generator. Now, does that suffice as a backup system?
That does provide for backup in terms of if the power goes out, but the rules these days, they want a second source, either an inner tie or another well.
Yeah, and so that doesn't provide that. And we were out of water for a whole damn week.
When was this?
2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
So the only gray water, what you have is our gray water from water and sewer on your property, huh? Gosh.
I have a question to you guys because I'm still learning a lot about what it means when these happen. Things happen like this from an engineering perspective. So say that we do what you say. We have this meter or this connection that automatically goes on if it reaches, a certain amount. Okay, so what if the reason that it is calling for water from us is they have a huge line break? Okay, so what happens? I mean, we don't know why they're calling water from us, so we're just pumping and it's running and going. And I mean, how do you handle situations like that?
I think there's a couple things. One is, well, first of all, we'll have a check valve in there, so we can't get cross contamination if they have a line break.
Right, that's a given.
Prevention assembly, not just a check valve.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. The other thing is too, as I've mentioned before, with the new modern meters, they report through the cellular network at midnight every night, and then they will send out a text alert to me if gee, we've got this increased usage from this meter. So it wouldn't go very long for it in this particular scenario. It would communicate to me that meter's got a problem. It's on, even in the middle of winter under snow.
Yeah.
So we're equipped so
Yes.
that we could give.
Well, that's what we would specify in there. Now, if you just had a regular direct read meter, we wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Well, even that one, you could go 23 hours.
Well, even it's in theory 23 hours, but that's better than, gee, where is it? We don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and I agree with Colleen. I mean, if this comes out that you have to have a backup system,
They're all right.
well, probably Farragut would be in trouble.
Well, we are essentially a backup to Farragut, and they're a backup to us, kind of a thing.
No, I'm talking about Farragut Village.
Farragut Village, yes. You know Farragut Village, yes.
Yeah.
They've not made them do anything because they've been around for 50 years. So they've got one well, no generator.
So
So
you're all,
guess what happens when the power goes out?
Yeah.
Notices constantly, yes.
so you're all
That's what we can see.
grandfathered in until you have to make
Right.
changes and add or get
You're correct on
approvals
that.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, until you get on DEQ's radar.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so
Before you move on,
where are we now on this? Is we are just going, I mean, you have all the information, so you're gonna pass this on to Bernice and your people, and then you will let us know.
I will, as
You're
a
the director.
representative, as a representative of Bayview, I will pass it on, but I'm not in, I'm totally, I
Yeah.
can't vote or anything
Right.
on.
Right.
You will let them, I guess what I'm saying, do you want us to do anything more than what we've done here today so that you have a whole picture of what will be involved
Give me
if
a
you
little
move forward?
synopsis of what you want me to pass on to her. So
Well, what we just discussed.
That would be, in order for the district to even consider it, there would be upfront costs, and this is just the base cost, $8,000 for a hookup, $2,080 for a cap fee, approximately $5,000 for engineering and legal fees.
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not cheap. It's just that that's what we have to do as a public agency. We
Right.
can't do it any different.
It would also need to get DEQ and engineer approval.
Right, and so the DEQ, what we first started talking
And
about.
I think one thing you want to mention too is the district's not making money off this. They
No, I
can't.
know
But they
that.
can't. They have to share everybody the same, and whenever they come in, somebody has to pay their way.
And
Just whatever the costs are.
And there would be a monthly standby fee at whatever the district chose to impose that fee.
Which would be the same for everybody that comes in.
At least
this
30.
district. Yes.
Yeah,
Well, how about
at least
the other-
32.
Others that don't have this, I mean.
They don't, and do you want to open up that?
Are we
Box.
grandfathered?
We're not the police,
Every
but the television.
every system would be
Yes.
the same.
No, I'm saying, if we don't do anything, are we grandfathered into
No.
not doing anything?
I don't know.
I mean, DEQ could come down on us anytime for not
You'd
having
love them
a
to be
backup.
consistent across the board, but they're not, are they, Bob?
No, they're not, but in this case, generally,
Mhm.
unless you have a major upgrade to your system, your grandfather.
Yeah.
It's only, that's their definition of a major upgrade, but they don't define major upgrades. So
Yeah.
it's-
Now, one
And
thing,
if you have a problem, you don't go run into it.
Bob, do you know how big the roll casing is?
I don't.
Because we have one system that meets DEQ requirements by having two pumps down the same roll casing.
Really?
Yeah, so if one fails, the other one can take over.
Wow.
Interesting.
I can't see that on a 6-inch casing though, Bob.
Not
Maybe-
on the 10-inch casing.
Okay.
So it
Yeah.
sounds to me like the best thing for all these little groups right now is to hope that they don't have to have a major upgrade and just be grandfathered in.
Okay, well, here's something else I'm going to add to that, Faye, and that is that if they did DEQ did a survey of the system and they said, here's what we recommend versus this is the rules and these are the requirements. There's this huge difference. If there's somebody recommending a backup to baby water and sewer, you can say, fine, we'll take it as we have the money come in. But if they're saying, this is the rules and this is why, and they can cite the specific rule and say you have to do it, then you're obligated.
That's a significant.
There's a big
So-
difference.
So what do we have?